In this video, I'm going to cover something that if you're already trading, this is something to possibly add to your tool set or an additional trading opportunity. If you're just getting started, I'll have other videos later this week that will cover some of the kind of basic things. But I backtested some of this, and what I've really found is that I usually trade the BTC pairs first, right? So we're looking at nulls right now, which is nulls BTC, okay? And I bought this dip here. So this dip that came down, I bought here and here. And then I took profits right around 6% on one, and then I'm waiting for the other one to kind of ride up a little bit and take profits right here, right? So another probably, that would have been another about 10% for profits. So I took two positions on nulls BTC pairs, right? And if you look at the ETH charts, they match similar to BTC. I mean, look at that. It's pretty much a really similar trend line, right? A drop off and then a bounce back up. Now, this doesn't always happen, and it's not always correlated this well. So you really have to look at this. But I also took two positions on the ETH chart. So I took a position here, and I've had a similar cash out. Now, I've been a holder of ETH. I used to trade ETH a lot more, but I have ETH just sitting in wallets and just sitting there just as a long-term holder, and it really wasn't being put to use. So I really transferred over some ETH to a trading account and started trading these pairs together. So when something pops up on my radar for BTC, I look at the ETH chart, and if it looks similar, then I will trade that. Now, one thing on ETH that you probably need to know is that the time frame for profits on ETH is typically, I've found, anywhere from 20% to 60% longer. There's less liquidity in some of these charts. What I mean by that is that the price action on BTC is usually much quicker. You can see run-ups quicker, and you see a lot more price action. On ETH, the run-ups don't happen as quick sometimes. The other things that you have to look into too as well is that on these pairs, there's different, what I'd say, market manipulation on ETH and BTC. But as you can see with these two charts, as I bounce between them, they pretty much parallel each other in price action, right? So it's something to add to your tool set if you're already trading BTC and you have ETH. You should have ETH anyways. I believe that you should have BTC, ETH, probably NEO, and LTC. I think that those are the core assets in this market right now, and XRP. If you have exposure to those five things, I think that you're exposed to the market pretty well as far as upside. And if you have ETH and you're not putting it into action, this might be one way to put it into action. There's one other thing I'll add here as well, which I'm starting to do. Because I trade on Binance, you look at, this is the BNB chart. So you can trade the BNB, which is the Binance coin, right? You can trade that as well against these pairs. So if you look at the charts, they're pretty similar. BNB has a little bit more downside on this and not as quick. Once again, the liquidity here is the thing you have to be mindful of. The thing to think about, though, is that if you trade on BNB, most likely you have those coins because you're using them for fees, right? So this is another way to, let's say you buy a lot of BNB coins. If you can manage it, you could almost trade all three pairs. You could buy a dip, basically, and I hate that phrase. So let's say you could look at a downtrend and analyze the chart and say that this downtrend will be reversed. There's a high probability that this downtrend will be reversed to an upside and a profit potential is the way to look at it. So I'm going to X buy the dip. I don't like the phrase. It sets the wrong frame of mind. But you could buy into a downtrend for a long position, right? And you could do this on the three pairs. You could do this on BNB, you could do this on BTC, and you could do this on ETH. Now, one thing to keep in mind is that you need to be able to manage this, okay? You're obviously, you have additional exposure if you're trading three different pairs, additional things to watch, right? And if you have a couple other trades out there, you need to really be mindful of this. Now, how do I do this? It's the way I do this is I know where I'm going to enter the trade. I have the price come to me, and before I even enter the trade, I already put my profit targets. Okay, and I don't look back. And oftentimes I do miss out on some higher upside profits. Okay, so that's something to keep in mind, is that I'll put my profit like right at 6% or 7%, right? And I won't go back and check it to see if it's like going for a moon or going for a run up. I could, and sometimes I do. I trail out my positions, but usually I put my profit. I'm happy with that profit, and I move on. I found that's the best way if you're doing these pairs. I haven't done a lot of the BNB pairs yet, but I've done a lot of the BTC and ETH pairs, where basically I'm trading the same asset on both pairs. And it's kind of unique to this market. I don't trade Forex, so I don't know if you can do the same thing in Forex, but you can't trade the same stock with different I guess you could trade with different currencies, but I don't know how that would work. In crypto, you can trade the same asset that has a similar chart pattern, right, that you've analyzed, on two pairs on things that are store of value within this market. So I think that's a strong thing. I think it's something to consider if you're new. Okay, if you're new to learning trading, do not do this strategy. Okay, I can't say that enough. It's too much for someone new to manage. But if you are trading BTC pairs, if you're at that point where you're trading, this is something to look at, because you can, with the same amount of time and effort, in a way, you can not double your profits, but you can trade the two store values in this market right now, ETH and BTC, and make upsides on both of them. So that's something to look into. Hopefully this video helps. Once again, you'll see links below. And if you like this, you can definitely send a tip over. I'm starting to add that to my profile as well. And then if you're not in the Discord group, definitely join the Discord group. There'll be a link to that below as well.